Hey, we're back here in Inside the Ropes, and we are joined by a man who wears many hats. He's a wrestler, he's a trainer, he's a producer, he's a reality TV star now. And he's also a man who's sporting a little bit of an injury. It is Mr. QT, Marshall QT. How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, does that hurt as bad as it looks, or
It did in the moment, but no, we're good now. It's been a couple days now since elevation that night, and no, I'm okay. So the swelling went down, and luckily there was no bone.
well, good. I'm glad that you're. I'm glad it's just surface level
Exactly.
injuries. But listen, I'm glad to talk to you because you're kind of like this guy who people might see you as a wrestler on Dynamite or on Dark or whatever, but you do so much stuff in AEW. So I guess for people who have maybe only seen you on Dynamite, they kind of know you're involved with the Nightmare Factory. Can you tell people generally what your AEW duties are?
I guess Tony Khan said it that I'm his right hand man. On top of that, my title is director of creative coordination. So I guess anything that deals with creative, I have to help coordinate. So like, if there's the card is set and I'll send it to the makeup department and let them know which, which women are going to be up first. So then they can put that in order. I deal with the seamstress and let her know which, talents are going to be used. So this way she could prioritize the right way. I do deal with the local talent as well. I oversee who gets booked for dark and elevation and stuff like that. So like, and then on top of that, like I said, being Tony's right hand man is more than enough in itself. But it's fun. It's my dream job, so I can't really complain.
So how did you? I mean, how for people who don't know, how did the AEW gig come about for you? What was the process that
Long
led you to be?
story short, yeah, I had helped Cody at All In as a producer last minute. And he just, I guess when AEW started, he was part of his executive vice president role, gave him an assistant. And I think that was our, kind of get a foot in the door. And I just started working really hard and never talking about it, just doing it, right? As Cody would say, do the work. And one thing led to another. And then the pandemic hit. And we were up late nights doing, sometimes 2, 3 tapings in a row. I also think that opening up my training facility to letting us film Dynamite there, that really solidified like, okay, like this he's one of us, and I think then I started working more closely with Tony and talent. I think just I'm very accessible to a detriment sometimes. I always answer every message I get because I've been on the other side of that. I've been sending emails and messages and no one responds and they leave you on read and you could see that they've read it and they just didn't answer. So, and I tend to be the guy that always gets the answer no matter what. So even if I don't know the answer, I'll go to the end of the day to at least find it because again, I just don't want anyone not knowing what's going on. So I just try as hard as I can. I make a lot of mistakes, but I think that's the charm of having me around.
Well, Tony Khan and Cody have both at various points kind of said, if it hadn't been for those tapings that you guys did, in I guess early April or whenever it was in
Sure.
2020,
Yeah.
because there was TV time that needed to be filled for TNT. What was the process for you? You're at AEW, and then how did you make that happen so quickly? And what was the kind of process?
Man, luckily, the owner of the actual facility is a great guy and he understood. And with the facility being down, and then, Raphael, who works for us, he's in charge of, he's like our building rep, I guess. I don't know his actual title, but he does a lot of stuff. But the one thing I know he does more than anything is he gets us our buildings. And they were able to strike a deal like right away. And we knew that Florida was closing, but Georgia would be open and we could do this 4 weeks in a row. And then Georgia decided to shut down like literally the day of the first night when we were live. So the next day we said, all right, let's just do, as much as we can with the talent we have, with the roster we have, with the locals that we have, and we'll just make it work somehow. And between that and, people sending in stuff on Zoom and we were able to make it work. It was, exciting for me because I was able to look at this space and think, man, all right, I could probably do this on a lower budget, which we've done now. And that's where our students do their showcases. So it was pretty cool, and to be able to help out in a time when we just didn't know what was going on. I thought, Tony and AEW changed my life. So if there's something I could do to help them out and also not I didn't gain anything out of that. I didn't make any money or, it wasn't
Mhm.
anything that I just wanted the show to go on. Right. Cause I was making my debut that first night. So I figured, all right, well, I'll wrestle at least 3 or 4 times the next day. I didn't wrestle once. I just sat next to Tony and we just watched a lot of wrestling that day.
I bet. Well, listen, can you confirm? Because we did an interview with Cody for our magazine, and he said that he had a match that never ended up airing because you guys taped so much stuff, and there was a match that he did that was so bad that Jericho was audibly laughing at him for doing sort of push-ups in the ring. Is this true? Can you confirm this?
I can confirm it there. Yes, it was which by the way, I did tell him he probably shouldn't do that match because I know the guy and the match wasn't bad. I like the guy. I've had great matches with him, but we wrestle on when we've wrestled, it was never on AEW. I mean, we have done some stuff, but like, yeah, I don't know. I think it was also a creative part too, right? I don't think it was just that Cody didn't like the match or whatever. I think it's, creatively, it just didn't make sense to air it at that time. And it was just kind of like we filmed a bunch of matches that probably didn't air that day.
Mhm.
But we just wanted as much as we could have in the can. So
And for you as a performer, as a wrestler, we kind of initially saw you as one of Cody's kind of right hand men, and then you guys end up having the rivalry where you've got the factory against him. Did you find that, and what did you find about easier being a heel against him and kind of having a faction against him, or being with him? Because it feels like you had a lot of fun being able to kind of have your own crew and sort of, dare I say, step out from the shadows of Cody a little bit.
sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been a heel most of my career. I can be a baby face. I don't really enjoy it too much. There's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes along with being a heel, pacing and basically controlling the match and stuff like that, which I genuinely enjoy. Plus, I'm a pretty decent guy, I think. So being able to portray, or let my feelings out, I should say. And the vlog was a big part of that. That was something that Tony watched and said, "Man, like, all right, I think I have this idea." And I said, "Sure, whatever you want to do. I'm the actor on the show." And of course, deep down, I mean, to turn on the Rhodes family and the Nightmare family, and then know I'm going to go into a feud with him. I mean, it's only going to elevate me, no matter what the outcome is. So it was a win-win, right? I don't know if it was everybody's favorite feud, but we had some really good matches, and I know personally it was one of my favorite things I've done in my whole career.
And we saw on the roads to the top, which we are going to get to, with you having to carry the placenta, but we, but there was the weigh-in, the infamous weigh-in on Dynamite that maybe didn't quite go to plan. What are your memories of being, I'm guessing very heavily involved in that whole sort of scenario, and it not quite going to plan?
I mean, it's live TV. The fireworks were going off next door. There was a baseball game and they won. So the fireworks were going off as the ceremony, as the weigh-in was happening. I had a really nice shirt that represented the UK, I thought, a nice bowling shirt. So I was happy about that. And then all of a sudden, obviously in a ring that moves a little bit, right? There's some give, there's some foam on top of the wood and metal. So the scale kind of wasn't working with us, or Paul, I should say. And then all of a sudden I saw Justin Roberts on the side and he said, "Hey, he had a microphone in his hand. He's like, Tony wants you to start talking." Said, okay. So I just picked up them and, it was a cluster, but at the same time, it was memorable. It was never really done before. Like the real, it always turns into a fight or this or that. Like we just did a real weigh-in. That was it. We told everyone that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a real weigh-in. So I don't know if you guys get excited for this, but we just try to be different, and whether it's good or bad, I think again, we're still talking about it now, so that can't be a bad thing.
And then mentioned roads to the top. I mean, I had a blast watching the show, and you're obviously heavily involved in it. Who came to you to sort of say, "Do you want to be in this show?" And how did you feel about being a part of this?
So, I mean, any exposure is good exposure, right? I've always said this, Cody opened the door for me. That show is also Tony's show. He's the executive producer of the show. So, when Tony had asked, originally we didn't know if we could do it because of the angle going on and stuff. And then when Tony said, "Hey, I think it's okay, blah, blah, blah. I'd really like you to be a part of it." I'm never going to say no. It was a little, time consuming, of course, with all the other hats, and then with the school. And so they tried to make it as easy as possible for me, especially towards the end. They just started sending the nurses to my house to do my testing and everything else for protocols and stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, again, I think they portrayed us the right way, because a lot of it was just real. They just were filming and we're just having fun. And, I really tend not to take too many things too seriously, because why, I try to stay young.
I mean, look, I feel like if someone had asked me to carry some placenta, you gave the facial expression that all of us would have had if we were asked that
There's
question.
a lot of trust, and on top of that, like, why? I don't get it. But he explained it to me. And, of course, ever since that day, multiple people have been explaining to me how it works. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I get it, guys. I get
Yeah.
it.
Let's
It's
move on from the placenta.
still not my thing,
Because it's funny. We obviously knew we were talking today, and then earlier I saw Cody's promo from last night on Dynamite, and it does feel like the audience is starting to not enjoy the Cody Rhodes character as much. He sort of said that he doesn't want to turn, he doesn't want to become a heel. Do you think, knowing Cody as well as you do, that if the reactions continue the way that they do, that's something he might change his mind on, or do you think we're going to see a kind of modern version of John Cena where it's half and half? Like, what do you think of it all?
I mean, you bring up like John Cena or Roman Reigns, right? When he was getting booed as a babyface, it's not a bad place to be as long as they're making noise. And I think Cody's worked extremely hard to connect with the audience. And I think last night, creatively was a great step. T-shirt, jeans, sneakers that he threw to he threw them to the audience. He had to walk backstage with no shoes on. So I thought that it was good. I don't think he's going to turn. I think he's literally telling everybody, hey guys, like, this is how it is. This is who I am. Maybe I've, gone a little Hollywood or whatever, but at the same time, like, he does work really hard. So what the hell, you got to enjoy your life. Is he the most likable? Like, I don't know. I personally had some issues with him, but we settled them, and now we're kind of back on. We don't really see always in the same. I see eye to eye, but we make it work. So, but I think deep down, from what he's told me and the way I think I know him, I don't think he's ever going to turn. Those fans mean way too much to him. They genuinely do. Like, he still, after the show, sometimes he'll stand outside and sign autographs, and collectors coming up to him, 30 action figures in their hand. He signs for every single person. Like, so I think the fans just mean too much to him and his brand. I don't think it's worth turning on them. Let them turn on you. I don't think they all will, especially you could hear last night.
And then let's talk a little bit about the factory. With you guys together. I mean, with AEW, there's so many wrestlers overall. Over all the shows, Dark and Elevation, you're responsible for a lot of them. I'm guessing. But how do you guys mentally sort of go, right? We want the factory to become more and more and do more and more stuff, but there's so many people all the time. How do you kind of balance it?
I think so. We turned on Cody on March 31st, right? I believe. And we were pretty much a decent little focal point, up until Anthony went back home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was like the end of June, maybe it aired. I know we filmed it all in a row right after Double or Nothing. And then I started the angle with Paul. So like up until recently, we were a focal point on TV, which I know wasn't too popular with everyone else, but it led to some fun stuff and memorable stuff and storyline stuff related with Paul. And it got him his first match in AEW on pay-per-view, which was like, a record breaking pay-per-view for us. So now we're kind of just figuring out what's next. Obviously we're leading into Full Gear, and I was on the last pay-per-view, and so was Solo and Camarado, and Agogo was on the pay-per-view before that. So maybe this one's not our time. Who knows? You never know when you're going to get called. You just always have to be ready. But I think it's about that. It's about balance, and I think a lot of the roster are learning that, and they're some probably aren't okay with it, and some are. It's just one of those things. Like, can't be on TV every week. There's only 2 hours, and we're going to put the main people that draw. And, I'm not one of the ones that I'll go right out of my way and say I'm a draw. I'm not. But at the same time, people don't change the channel, but also I'm in there with stars. So whether my segments, as we say, are padded or not, we still did a good number every time we were out there. And I know when I go out there and I hear the crowd,
Mhm.
again, they're reacting. So I think we're doing something right.
And in terms of you being heavily involved in creative and also being an on-screen wrestler, AEW is the momentum has been there for a couple of years. We see it, the demo. I feel every day we wake up to a new demo. Something on the social media of how well AEW is doing. I mean, I guess the one criticism that sometimes is out there seems to be there's too many wrestlers for the amount of shows that there are. What's your kind of answer to that? What do you say to people who might say, "Oh, there's too many people for a 2-hour Dynamite and a 1-hour Rampage"?
So are those people getting paid? That's so is Tony employing a lot of people? Yeah. Oh, is that a terrible thing? No. And are they still getting work when it comes to dark and elevation? Yes. And if I were a younger talent, I mean, listen, I've been on TV for a year, so I'm still a young talent when it comes to that. I understand, like, hey, I'm not going to be on TV every week, but when I get those opportunities on elevation and dark, I'm going to try to get the best reactions, have the best matches. I've seen times before where, especially in the pandemic era, we would do matches in front of nobody on dark that were so good that we just didn't air them. And then we just put them on Dynamite, like, because you just never know. Right. So I think, especially if you're getting paid, I don't think anyone should be upset, especially like fans shouldn't be upset. These are wrestlers that are, especially in a time, obviously with some news that came out yesterday, like at a time that wrestling isn't guaranteed for everybody. Like, I hope we sign as many people as we can, because at the end of the day, listen, they can all pinch hit, right? You can all get your chance, and some are going to be mainstays. And that's just the way wrestling has kind of always been. So I don't really see the negative in signing too many wrestlers. We are all allowed to basically work independent, shows as well, as long as they're, creatively don't mess you up or they don't conflict with any AEW stuff. So, I mean, if you really want to wrestle as well and you don't feel you're getting your fix, just go wrestle. You know what I mean? So, and you're going to be able to do whatever you want on any independent show because you're on TV, or at least you're a part of AEW. And I'm sure any promoter is going to know that that's going to bring value to their event as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, but I can't see anyone being upset that we're hiring people and giving them money, right, at the end of the day. And I say we as AEW, not myself personally. But
And
yeah,
then sorry,
good.
no.
No, I was just gonna say, when it comes to the creative stuff, at the end, I always say this too, because like it's Tony's the be all end all, and
Mhm.
people pitch him ideas, and maybe he takes some of them, and sometimes they pitch ideas to me to go to him. But it's very, 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 very rare that someone's going to come to me with an idea, and I'm just going to say okay, because I don't have the power to do that,
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of the stuff that people, on Twitter, they tag me and like, learn how to book, and I'm thinking like, first of all, Tony's doing a really good job. And second of all, like, I don't book, like I try to fill the local talents up, when we need it. If someone asks my opinion on something, I'm going to give it, but at the same time, that's not what I do, so.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about Dark before we go.
Yeah,
Something that kind of to me was quite fascinating, because obviously there was the Max Caster incident a few months ago, which it was weird that live there didn't really seem to be an issue, and then it was when it aired that there seemed to be more of an online issue. And I kind of wonder, from you guys' perspective behind the scenes, does that change with the idea that, like, the live crowd might be fine with it, but then it might, people might not be okay with it on social media? Has that had to change with that particular incident? How do you feel about
that. Some people get offended, and it is what it is. And, I don't even remember what he said. I remember it was something that obviously wasn't too great. He offended some people, and, and that's something that we just, hey, Max, from now on, let's go over these. I'm pretty sure whoever he deals with on a nightly basis goes over it with him and make sure it's cleared now and stuff like that. He's just having fun out there. We don't want anyone to get in trouble over something like that. What I've noticed though is, like, between the live fans and the Twitter fans, right? There's a huge difference. We have 1 million people that watch our show, and I'll use me as an example. If my match gets announced on Dynamite and they know, oh no, QT's taking up Dynamite time, there's about 60 to 80 comments underneath, and they're all negative.
that?
Cool. Well, that's 60 to 80 negative comments out of 1 million people watching our show. You know what I mean? And then again, when I go out there and the whole crowd is booing and chanting QT sucks, that's not a bad thing. So, it's bad if I come out and the whole arena leaves and they go, oh, go get popcorn. Then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not doing something right or whatever. Or we're not doing something anyway. And that doesn't happen anyway. Our fans are the greatest fans, I think, in wrestling. I really genuinely believe that. They're into almost everything. They're very forgiving because there are, chances and times that everything isn't done perfectly, and they're very forgiving. And, they just, like I said, they're just the greatest fans out there. The Twitter ones, I could deal with without some of them, but I just usually mute them anyway.
Yeah, that's probably a wise decision. And then the last question I had for you was obviously Dark, not Dark Elevation, but Dark is now being filmed at Universal Studios rather than being on the road. What was the decision behind that? And have you found that's been a better fit for Dark now that you guys are there?
I think, there's just not enough time in the arenas. And Tony obviously doesn't want to get rid of it because he's built Dark to something fun that everyone looks forward to on every Tuesday. And it was just a matter of, I think when the pandemic hit, Universal was, I'm sure Raphael would know these answers more than me, but, they just had the studio available, and it was a place that we could probably, I think, there's not a lot of setup and breakdown. I think it kind of stays the way it is, and they just lock the doors. So, and it gets us more work, right? Like you're saying about having all these talent that aren't doing anything on Dynamite, but what about coming on one Sunday a month and filming 4 different matches? You know what I mean? So, and that's got to be easier on a talent too. I mean, it stinks maybe for that day to do 2 or 3 matches, but then you're off for a couple of weeks, and so it's not bad at all, and it's got a cool look. It has a cool setup. It's Florida. I don't think anyone's gonna be upset about going to Halloween Horror Nights after the taping's over. So, and I think those fans they're missing what they used to have when it comes to like Impact being there, and NXT was right around the corner as well. So it's not bad at all. I like it. It's cool. It's a good environment. It's very laid back because it's not live. Obviously it's live in front of the audience, but it's not live there. So when it comes to moving stuff around, and it's not as stressful. So it does add an extra day to the schedule, but it's not as stressful at all.
Listen, QT, I want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time. You've got the Nightmare Factory going on, you've got the Factory going on, you've got AEW, you get Dark. I don't know how you managed to fit it all in, but you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm trying my hardest. So, like I said, I mess up all the time, but
you can get all the links below to how if you want to go and train at the Nightmare Factory, there'll be links below to go and check out how you can maybe try and go and do that, and check out AEW every week. So QT, thanks for joining us today.
You got it. Thank you so much.